Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be having a look at City's transfer business so far, as well as answering a few questions from Twitter and Instagram. If you don't already follow me, go and do so. The link is down in the description. But the first signing of the window, Rob Dickie from QPR. Very, very solid deal, if you ask me. I'm very happy with it. Didn't have the best of seasons last year, but I think we ended up getting him for around £1 million when this time last season they were asking for 10 million off of a couple of Premier League clubs for him. Obviously QPR in general didn't have a great year last year, kind of started really well and then just plummeted. So being a defender in a poor side, you're naturally going to kind of lose your value, lose your confidence, etc. But hopefully Nigel Pearson and his coaching staff can rebuild that in him next year alongside Viner, Atkinson, etc. Callas if he stays. And Ross McCrory, who was the second signing in from Aberdeen, who, I mean, I'm quite happy with it. I don't know a whole lot about him, I've got to be honest. I've never watched him play in person. Rob Dickie I've obviously seen play a number of times for QPR over the last couple of years. But McCrory seemingly right back, centre back, kind of defensive midfielder, so provides a lot of cover for us, which is nice because as we noticed in March at Cardiff when we had picked up a few injuries to Joe Williams, Callas, I think Pring got injured that day as well, or someone along those lines. I can't remember the exact list now, but Atkinson's obviously out for a little while as well, so we need the cover in those defensive areas. Sort of pushing up into midfield with him is nice as well, to have him and Naismith being able to do that as and when required. Rob Dickie very comfortable on the ball as well, which is good. But yeah, McCrory, very solid signing. I liked the announcement video as well. I'll put the still on screen. It was like a Love Island type thing, walking out on the roof with his sunglasses on. It was just quite funny, really. But yeah, I'm happy with that one. And then Hayden Roberts announced sort of a week after the other two, or 5-6 days after the other two, from Brighton, sort of left back, right back, can play like left of a 3 or left of a 4 as a centre half as well, but probably more comfortable on the left of a 3, as he's not the tallest. But yeah, 3 decent signings so far. Not a whole lot to say other than that. We're linked with Jason Knight, I believe, at Derby, who I guess is kind of a, if Alex Scott goes, we'll have Jason Knight and he can step in. If Alex Scott stays, we'll have Jason Knight and he can kind of play as and when he's needed this season, and then when Scott leaves next summer, which you got to presume he's not going to be here in a year's time, then Jason Knight will be ready to step in. So hopefully that's one that gets done, but we've already had 2 bids rejected. I think Derby are after a bid of sort of around 2 million or so, which is, I don't know, I think I'd be willing to pay that as long as we can kind of almost guarantee that he's got to be good enough and step into the role that we need him to do, which is hard to know before he's here, obviously. And it kind of links into the first question that I got on Twitter, which is, do you think Alex Scott's got to leave? I mean, it's looking increasingly less likely, isn't it, this summer? There's just not really been a whole lot of rumours, which is surprising because it seemed like before the window opened, there was everything, and it was like he could go to West Ham, he could go to Wolves, he could go to Brighton. Dortmund have been looking at him apparently. I'm still kind of presuming he's got to go. I'm kind of working on the basis that he's got to go. If he stays, that would be amazing. But I'm kind of working on the basis that he's got to go personally, because it just feels like it's the right thing for him to do. I still think he's got to go to Brighton because they've lost McAllister. Caicedo's looking likely that he's going to go to Arsenal, from what I've been reading in previous days. And I mean, he's very good. He's too good for us, realistically. I think the only thing he's lacking these days is end product. As we saw last season, only 2 goals, 1 in the league, 1 in the FA Cup, and I think 3 assists. But with the assists, that kind of comes down to the quality he's got in front of him as well, which obviously is going to be at a higher level if he's playing for someone like Brighton or West Ham than if he's playing for us. Last year he had Cornick, Chris Martin, Naki Wells and Tommy Conway ahead of him at various points, so kind of varying levels of quality. Obviously Conway shares a flat with and had a very solid season last year before and after his injury in the middle. But who knows? I'd love to see him stay, as any City fan would, because he's incredible. But Willie, I don't know, it feels unlikely. And the next question that we move into is, what positions do you still think we need, this is from Josh Black by the way, what positions do you think we still need a bit of depth or quality in, and who would you like to come in those places? I think we need to sign a striker. I don't really know who off the top of my head, but Wells is another year older. I think Conway hits 20 goals next year if he stays fit. But you can't be relying on a 21-year-old kid to kind of carry your attack in the Championship. So I think Cornick and Mehmeti after a full pre-season will be very solid for us as well. Cornick obviously proven at this level, Mehmeti less so, but we saw last season he's got it in him. It just needs a bit of moulding, I suppose. He was very raw last season. It was a lot of, I've come in, I'm just going to try and run at players, because he's used to doing that in League One. And obviously didn't have the time to have a pre-season, have some friendlies, have a full month and a bit of training with the squad. So hopefully that'll come to fruition throughout the next year. I think those three will be very, very good, but I still feel like we need a bit of a bigger number 9, like a Chris Martin type player. We basically need Jeju, but not Jeju. We need a player of that sort of quality, that sort of build, who can hold the ball up. We don't really have anyone like that at the moment. Suppose Cornick can do it to an extent. Martin was good for a bit he was good for the first 2 years he was here. Last season his legs had gone. He wasn't a whole lot of use, unfortunately, as much as everyone loved him. And probably could do with a midfielder, especially if Alex Scott's got to leave. I'd like to see Jason Knight come in, like I've said already. But yeah, that'll be my thinking. We seem to be recruiting in order of priority. Like, we got Rob Dickie in first because we needed centre backs, and then Ross McCrory because we needed other defensive cover, and Hayden Roberts because we needed a left back now that Jada Silva's gone, which I'm quite sad about really with Jada Silva. But hey ho, I suppose it is what it is. And then Sam Rousel says he'd love to know what my thoughts on the goalkeeping situation are, because he feels as though we need some competition for OLeary, who is susceptible to the odd clanger. But I like OLeary. I like him a lot. I think the only thing OLeary doesn't have that Bentley always had is, like Sam said in the question, is he doesn't command his box that well. He doesn't seem to be as vocal as Bentley always was. However, Bentley would try to command his box a bit too much, I think, at points. He'd come out for the crosses, or he'd be glued to his line. And he just kind of flapped a little bit, didn't he? I think OLeary's one of the best shot stoppers I've seen us have since I started watching, which was this season, in fact, 2014-15. I bought the shirt the other day on Facebook. If you haven't already seen my documentary, do go and check it out. It features an interview with Mark Little, so go and check that out. It's pinned on the channel. But yeah, I think OLeary's still going to be number 1 next year. Bajic, kind of, I don't really know what's going on there. Obviously, we sent him back out on loan for the second half of the year, back to France, I think we sent him. But who knows? Nikita Hykin, that all went a bit wrong, didn't he? He came in, didn't play, and then went back to, I can't remember where he went in the end, but he went somewhere, and he just never saw him play, so can't really pass judgment on him. Bajic didn't look great against Lincoln, did he? But nobody looked great that night, so it's hard to judge. But I think, yeah, we should probably, if Bajic is going to stay out on loan, which feels like the sensible option because he is still quite young, feels like we should look into getting someone of a higher calibre to, like Sam said, kind of provide some competition for OLeary. But I think OLeary stays as number 1 for me personally until there's a reason to drop him. But that's why we need a competent backup. That's what we've had over the last 3-4 years with Bentley and OLeary. You know, they were fairly interchangeable. Like, if Bentley made a few mistakes in a row, OLeary could come in and everyone was like, yeah, that's fair enough, because he's a valuable option. But moving in to the next question, we've got a few from Instagram now. I'm going to leave this guy's Instagram linked in the comments. Bristol City shirts is really interesting. He's got an incredible collection. He asked what I think Zach Viner's value is, and I'd say it's hard because his contract's up next at the end of this season, I think, like next summer. So probably sort of, if we were to sell him this year, I can't see us getting any more than like 4 million for him. I'd say probably between like 2.5 and 4 million personally. I think he's very, very good, and obviously won Player of the Year last year, but because his contract's expiring this time next year, everyone's going to know that, especially in January. Like, we may try and sell him if he's not looking to renew his deal, but he's having a good season, then it might make sense to cash in then. But yeah, that's probably what I'd go with on that one. Matty P13 has asked who I think will play at right back this season, which is an interesting one because I think Ross McCrory would like to think that he'd come in and start. But George Tanner was very, very good last year. I think it kind of went under the radar just how good he was at points. Kane Wilson, I don't really know what's going on with him. He's not really had a chance, to be fair to him. He's been injured a bit, but I read somewhere, I think he's going to Derby or something, or Bolton. I I can't, one of the two. I read that, but that was on Facebook, so who knows. It's one of those where I'm not entirely convinced that we'll see Kane Wilson play a whole lot more, which is a shame because I like him. He's one of those who should be a very solid player for us, but it's just not seeming to work out for us, unfortunately. And then we've got a question from Will, who's actually my cousin, asking one player who I wish we could sign but be realistic. And I mean, every year there's the British Sombalonga links, isn't there? I like him. I think he's very good at points, but he's not been the same since he had that, was it knee injury or ankle injury or something a few years ago, while he was at Borough. But he's kind of one that I always look at and I'm like, you know what? I've basically described him when I was saying we need someone like Sheju but not Sheju, who can hold the ball up but got a bit of a turn of pace about him at points if need be. So it'd be British Sombalonga. Jack Taylor from Peterborough I really like. He's very, very good. I've seen a couple of links with him over the last year or so. I do like Chidozie, I'm not sure how you pronounce his first name, Ogbane, from Rotherham as well, but I feel like he's gone somewhere already this summer. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have to double check that one while we look at the next question from All Bristol Talk, who I'll also leave linked down in the description while I check. Chidozie Ogbane has... Oh no, he's still at Rotherham. Ah, okay. Maybe well, in my head his contract was up this summer. Who knows? But I like him as well. So the answer to that one, we've got to go with 3 players because I can't decide on one. But I guess the first one would probably be Jack Taylor. He looks very, very good, especially in the playoffs against Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, Peterborough bottling that 4-0 lead in the second leg, which was interesting, but he was very, very good in the first leg at least. Anyway, All Bristol Talk asks what my early predictions are. I'm presuming he just means for City. I'm not going to go through the whole league. That'll be another video in a couple of weeks' time. Which I'll do kind of once a couple of friendlies have been played. I'll probably do it like the week before the season starts. But with City at the moment, I'd take anywhere from 14th to 10th, I reckon. Kind of just solid mid-table. I don't think we're going to trouble the top 6 too much. I don't think we'll be in any sort of relegation bother like we've kind of looked like we could be at points over the last couple of years. But I think we'll just have a fairly middle of the road, probably win a couple more than we'll lose. Just kind of existing in the Championship again next season, which works for me. I guess it's kind of the final stage of Nigel Pearson's 3-year plan. Was the first one was keep us in the league. The second one was kind of start to build with the youngsters like Semenyo, Scott, Conway, etc. And then it was kind of priming those youngsters to be sold on like Scott is now. Semenyo's already gone, obviously, and bringing back through like the likes of Bell, Conway, Pring to kind of give us a merry-go-round almost of fresh talent coming up from the academy without having to spend too much like we haven't been able to in the last couple of years due to various debts and stuff racked up by Mark Ashton. Cheers for that. And yeah, I'd go a comfortable mid-table finish. I'd like to hope more towards 10th than 14th, but look, we'll see where we end up. There's a few people saying we're going to push for the top 6 and stuff this year. I think the Championship is very, very hard this year. Leeds are going to be very good. Leicester, Southampton obviously also going to be very good. But the likes of Middlesbrough are going to have a good crack next year. Millwall are probably still going to be in and around it. Coventry will be looking to at least get top 6 again after missing out in the playoff final last year. So, you know, there's got a lot of tough competition this season. Plymouth, I think, are going to have a good crack at the Championship this year. I don't think they'll be like Sunderland were last year. I don't think they'll be pushing up towards the top 6. But I can see them comfortably staying up. I think they're one of the better run clubs in the league this season. Kind of a similar mould to Brighton, like a Championship Brighton almost. And as Steve Schumacher doing a very, very good job there. But that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. A bit of a different one, kind of just sitting here, giving my thoughts on a few things. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe. We're trying to hit 1.3k subscribers as soon as possible. We only need like 15 more. So if we could get there, that would be great before the start of the new season. And I will see you in the next video when hopefully we've signed Jason Knight. Cheers.
Can you dig any deeper now?